Haley, welcome to your March Madness interview. Thanks for joining. Just to start out, I was curious just how are you doing and where are you zooming in from?
I'm doing well, and thanks for having me. So I'm in from New Jersey. Things have been interesting. So the last year, spent a lot of time at home, a lot of time in my bedroom working. So I don't go into the office at all right now, and so I've been good, but just kind of hanging out at home.
Yeah, and I know you were mentioning to me before you're also in school. So like, how are you doing balancing like work, school, screen time, like still being, moving your body and being an athlete and all that?
Yeah, it's been tough. I mean, basically I don't really have a balance with screen time. I'm kind of online from 7 o'clock in the morning till 8 o'clock at night some days, and it is what it is. But I think you kind of learn the new environment. So for work, obviously everything's virtual. School, there is actually an option that I could have gone in person, but I decided just to take it remotely. And it's not bad. I mean, it's only a couple hours a week that's actually screen time. Um, and so, I mean, it's not really, I guess, that much different for me for like the school work balance.
hmm hmm Yeah, it's like I know it's been tough for me too. Just even I don't have school right now, but just even work, like the amount of energy I feel like concentrating on someone on a screen versus just in person is just like a different level. That's just really tough. So I feel like sort of drained at the end of my weeks, maybe more than usual, which is
Yeah.
tough. So I was curious, just to start out, how'd you get into hockey and what kinds of hockey do you play?
Yeah. So I've been skating since I was 2 years old, about. So my two older brothers, my uncles all played growing up, my cousins. So pretty much a family sport. Um, so my mom always jokes that I was skating before I was really walking. So, on the ice, she's kind of zooming around, trying to chase and keep up with my brothers. And, started on a team, an ice team, when I was 4. And from there, I just continued to play. Loved it through the whole time. Played through high school, played in college. And then when college ended, I took a good amount of time off. I think about 2 years before I started to get involved in ball hockey. So I had heard about that from Kelly Foley. I had actually went to high school with, and so she had reached out and just mentioned the sport, and I was instantly like, "This sounds amazing!" Like I used to obviously grow up playing street hockey in my backyard and everything, and so she had invited me to come to a tournament in Drake it, and so we went to that, and I've pretty much been playing ball hockey since then. Trying to be as consistent as possible, but haven't really played much in the last year.
Yeah. How'd you find the transition from ice to ball?
It was hard, actually, which, to be honest, like I didn't think it was going to be that hard because I played street hockey growing up. Like I've always kind of done off ice stuff, um, but I don't think I really, I kind of took for granted the ability to glide in ice hockey, and I definitely miss that still sometimes when you're trying to get back and whatnot. But I think besides that, I think the transition from like picking up some of the rules being a little bit different took a little bit of time. The ball being a little bit more bouncy than a puck, but it was a great transition, and I think it was for me it was something I was kind of missing in my life at that point. I'd gone like 2 years not really playing much, and so got back into ball hockey, and I kind of fell back into my element, I guess.
Nice. Do you play any other sports?
So growing up, I played a lot of sports. I played soccer, baseball. I did track. I actually, when I was really little, did BMX, like bike racing,
Oh,
was pretty cool. So of course my brothers did it, so I had to do it. And I did it when I was like 6 and 7 years old, which is kind of funny to think back on. But so that's probably the most interesting sport I ever did. And then in high school, I played field hockey, um, obviously ice hockey and softball. So
Okay. And we've had sort of a common theme with a lot of these, that there was like an older sibling or older siblings that that you played with. Like, how are the dynamics like that in your family? You said brothers and uncles, and just like having that. It sounds like you're the youngest. Are you the youngest?
Yeah, I'm
Yes.
the
What was that dynamic like, kind of growing up and playing with older siblings and family members?
It was great. I mean, we pretty much like lived at the rink when we were younger. So my brothers and I all played for the same league initially. And so, we'd go to the rink for 3, 4 hours at a time. Everybody would have their practices, and any time not at hockey was pretty much spent doing hockey stuff. So whether it was just my brothers, like backyard, always playing hockey. They used to, of course, because I was the youngest, they would dress me up as a goalie and they would just shoot at me. For hours, and I thought it was so fun because they were including me and they wanted to play with me, but no, they just wanted me to be in the net. So but it was good. I mean, I always like to go to their games, watch them play, and learn whatever I could from them. And then, as I kind of went on with my career, it kind of changed a little bit. So my brother started to go to a lot more of my stuff, especially once I got into college. But even just through college career, like brothers, uncles, just kind of always having, thoughts, comments after games, and like just being able to talk everything, through with them. It's always been a great kind of family connection, and still is to this day. I feel like it's something that like just brings people together.
That's really cool. What do your brothers still play?
No, they don't play. My oldest brother played just actually they both played just through high school. And then I think like men's leagues and stuff. And my middle brother actually gave it up pretty early on, but everybody else in the family, just plays as they can in whatever leagues. Actually trying to convince my brother one day to come to some of the co-ed tournaments and get him into ball hockey.
Nice.
He tells me he's too old now, but he's not. So I'm going to drag him there one day.
Yeah, never too old to get back and play some street hockey. So I've had the privilege of playing with you in some like local tournaments, and then also for Team USA. So I was curious, like, what's been your experience like transitioning, playing in a USA jersey, traveling internationally, and playing ball hockey?
Yeah, it's been amazing. I mean, to be honest, when I first started playing and, I'd heard about the USA team and everything, like at first, like, street hockey or ball hockey to me I didn't think of it as like a formalized sport when I first started playing. And I didn't realize what kind of community there really was behind it, which I wish I did when I was younger, because it would have been great to play over the summers. Um, and I remember, when we got to the Czech Republic in 2017, and even leading up to it, just going to training camps and stuff, realizing like how cool it was, and like just being a part of a team again, and with people who are just so passionate and like they just want to have fun, right? So it was, just the one year in 2017 that I went, and everybody was there, like they want to have a good time, they want to get better, like it was a good group of people to be with. And I remember when we had the first opening ceremonies, and I remember we went in, we sat down, and I was like, what is going on? Like this is unbelievable. They had all like the light shows, they had the music playing, you had all the men's and women's teams there. And I like that feeling, it was kind of like, wow, this is real. Like this is an unbelievable opportunity. And I'll never forget it. I remember just sitting there being like what am I doing? Like what is happening right now? And it was awesome. I mean, the level of play was just, great, and getting to watch all of the men's games as well while you're there and seeing that level of play on their side as well. Obviously, we hope to have kind of expanded, countries on the women's side in the future, but even with, I think 6 or 7 countries while we were there, it was awesome to see like just how great the level of play was across the board. And again, just like such a community. So I think something, ice hockey obviously has a great community, but I do find that because it's such I think a big sport, that sometimes there's like almost separate communities, right? Like you kind of find your teams, and that becomes like your family. where ball hockey to me, like it's much more of one large community. And like I don't know if I'm explaining that in a way that makes sense, but like even like just like the the local tournaments we go to when we were there overseas, like everything is just so fun, and like everybody's there with like I don't know, kind of the same values, and um, it was an unbelievable opportunity.
Yeah, I feel that too. And it's interesting kind of that you even say like there's a community in ice, but there's like a community in ball that's like it's hard to explain, but I definitely feel the same thing that you feel. And it's really why I've stuck around and in ball hockey like so closely. It's just there's that community feel, that like closeness that you feel with your teammates, everywhere from like the local league that I play, twice a week, to like the tournaments that I play locally in the Boston area, to Philly, and then to international. Like that community is really, really strong.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's something about it that's sort of unique. Do you have any further thoughts on that? Like, what do you think makes this community so special?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if yeah, I don't have a great answer for that. Like it's something I wonder. Like I don't know why. I I don't know if part of it is also just how much like I think I've changed, right? So I've only really done ball hockey as an adult. So I think it might even just be the fact of the way I think value relationships a lot more now than maybe I did in the past, just because you don't think about things the same way when you're younger.
Mm-hmm.
So I think now, right, like just going to tournaments, I want to create those relationships so much more. Like, the hockey's great. It's obviously so much fun, but I look forward to just as much the time that we're spent away from the rink, right? So the locker room talk, going out to dinner and drinks and whatnot after, and just hanging out with the team. So I think, and not that you didn't have that in ice hockey, like we definitely had that. And so I guess it's not even necessarily distinguishing between the two, but it might it might just be more of I think the way I look at it now, and you know having friends from all over doesn't seem I guess as difficult. So when I was younger, right, it wasn't if I met somebody who I knew lived in Maine, or lived 5-6 hours away, to me that was like a lifetime away. Where now it's just so much easier to stay connected, and you go to these tournaments, you haven't seen people in sometimes over a year, 2 years, and you're like, this is like you start back at square one, and or I guess not at square one, right? Like you get back into right where you left off those couple of years ago.
Yeah, that's really cool. I think the idea of like the relationship building and that shift too of mindset from like youth sports to like why you join a sport as an adult is also something that's really important. It's also interesting too to think about, like, at least when I was growing up, like the point of like a lot of the emphasis was on getting to the championship and like playing your best and getting better, getting to college, like doing all those things. And then I come at it from a similar angle of you now. Like I want to like form relationships, have those memorable moments that I remember the hockey, but mostly I remember the relationships.
Yeah.
And there's something really special there about that community. Would you say in terms of the way that you prepare yourself now, like given the shift, right, like the shift in just like maturity, growing older, the way that you approach hockey now, is there any shift in how you prepare yourself for maybe like a local game, maybe a tournament game, or an international game, or maybe even a championship game? Like, have those shifted over the year, or do you have a similar kind of approach to those, routine to those ways that you prep yourself?
Yeah. So I think from a local, more kind of like the tournament, like more tournament based, kind of like just more fun. Obviously we all want to win, but a little bit different atmosphere, I think, when you're at some of the local events. So I think from that perspective, I'm probably more laid back than I would ever be, and ever have been in the past. But when it comes to like the international play, I think, in the Czech Republic, I actually tried to mimic a lot of the habits that I had in college. Even because at that time I remember being like, how do I get mentally prepared for this? Like I kind of forget how to do it. So, just getting headphones on, spending some time by myself, not being too distracted beforehand, and whether it's just thinking about the game or just not thinking about other stuff, just kind of stretching and hanging out. And I think still what's important, and I think I did less of it probably back in college, is having that kind of, individual time of just my headphones and, thinking about trying to keep a good mindset for a game and how I want to play that day. And then balancing that with also spending time with the team before a game. So taking those headphones out, maybe joking around a little bit. I think in college, sometimes it was almost too serious before games. And I think, the environment that's created in ball hockey is like, you almost don't want to have your headphones in the whole time because you want to hang out with your team. You want to get ready together. And so I think, maybe shifted a little bit in that way. But otherwise, obviously I stretch a little bit more now than I used to, just to try to not get injured. But I always seem to get injured anyway. So yeah, I think that's probably the only real shift though. Otherwise, I think, it's still important kind of regardless of age, right? To get your kind of mindset and ready to go before a game, and concentrate enough. And I think there is a point of over concentration that you need your teammates to pull you out of. So
Yeah, for sure. That's super interesting because I think like I was talking to Cherie about this, but I kind of went to the extreme of like, all right, I gotta get in the zone, like I gotta do this. And I tried that for a while and I played so bad when I did that. And like I learned through that process that I really need to like just play before a game. I need to like throw a ball around or kick something, even though I'm terrible at like, sports, soccer or whatever. I was like, I just need to do something to take my mind off of it so that I can just go out and play loose. And so it's such an interesting like kind of balance in the way people's like pregame routines happen and what gets you to the place that you feel ready and that you feel excited to play. Everyone's like a little different on that.
yeah, and I think on that too, I mean, it's important for people to recognize how their teammates also need to spend time before a game. So there's always some people who don't really want to socialize and I think they like to get ready in their own head, and that's fine. And I think you recognize that within your team, and I think that we pay more attention to it now. You're just being adults and being a little bit more mature of, what are other people's thoughts and what's going to get them ready. So I think that's just important to keep in mind too when you're on a team and trying to kind of put that into play when you're growing up, because I think teams tend to have your set routine before a game as a team, but making sure that you kind of keep some time for people to do their own thing as well is very important.
And I was also wanting to talk a little bit about like teammate stuff, because I think you're a really fantastic teammate in so many ways, like from like your locker room presence. You get like fun at the times when it needs to be fun, serious at the times when you need to be serious. You push on your teammates when they need a push, and you support teammates when they need to be supported. So how do you think about like being a strong teammate on the bench, in the locker room, during the times when you're just connecting outside at dinner or drinks or whatever? How do you think about that?
Oh, that's a tough question. Sorry, hold on. The screen keeps going off behind me. So I think, I don't know. I just try to have fun. I mean, I guess I treat it as I would like any other like relationship, right? Like I think try to just be respectful of what people are trying to do. I'm a very mental player, so I get in my own head a lot, and I think so. Some of, I think, from like a a locker room standpoint and being able to kind of adapt to what's going on around me is actually also just helpful for myself. So I think some of it just happens because I'll see myself getting into a point of I'm thinking about maybe everything I did wrong that last period, right? And that's all I'm focusing on. And then I'll look around the room and I'll see, Bitler jumping up and down, dancing around the locker room. And I'm like, all right, what am I doing? Like, change your focus. Let's go hang out with the team. Let's have some fun. So I think almost like teammates almost help me more in that fashion sometimes. I'm glad it doesn't come across that way always. But I think, otherwise I like kind of the, from an aspect of like having a long history with playing ice, a lot of it is able to be transitioned over to ball hockey. And some people, haven't played for a long time. So I think, especially with the USA team, like everybody's willing to learn. So I think with, people who maybe only took up ball hockey in the last couple of years and never played ice before, so they didn't really have that same transition. Everybody wants to be, not coached, but, helped and given advice on any areas. So I just don't really tend to hold back, I guess. I will not kind of harp on the same things to the same people, but you kind of learn who likes the advice and who kind of wants to have some, maybe support or critique at times too. And so I think I try to give people what I think they might want to hear. And then sometimes I think, from a team perspective of, maybe we're not doing something well as a team, I try to look at the big picture on things and bring that, back to the locker room after games. From a standpoint of going out and having drinks and hanging out, I think that's just me. I'm just an outgoing person. So anytime anybody wants to go and hang out, I'm pretty much down. So I think that's just more of a personality.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Are you a morning person or a night owl? Just curious.
As I've gotten older, I've become more of a morning person. Part of it just I have to get up early for work, so that's become just part of my general routine. I have a really hard time getting up and getting out of bed, but once I'm up, then I'm a morning person. I am definitely the person who, if I'm with friends watching a movie, hanging out, I'm probably going to fall asleep. So I don't do so well as the night goes on.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think I've done a similar journey. I'm trying to still say I'm a night owl, but I have to get up so early and I need sleep, so I have to go to bed.
Yeah, I'm not a very happy person without sleep, so.
Same, for sure. Have you ever dealt with, like, we've been, in a year or a little more than a year of this, like, kind of stay at home, like some things open, some things not. Like, in your career as an athlete, have you ever had a long stretch of not playing hockey like we're kind of currently in? If so, how did you deal with it, and how are you dealing with it now?
Yeah, so I think my longest stretch besides now of not being able to play hockey was probably this summer, before my junior year in college. So I had surgery on both of my hips. So I was out from my first surgery in March till about the following September. So that was the longest stretch for me. And I mean, part of it helped with the fact that it was summer anyways. So we were kind of away from the rink itself, but still not being able to go and play on the weekends was tough, or after work and, internships and whatnot at that time. I think I just got through it though I was able to do like upper body stuff. So I was still able to train. I was definitely, a lot of my mind taken off of it from the fact that I was doing rehab every day. So I was still kind of having a forced schedule at that point in time. And I actually think that time wasn't a bad thing for me. Getting away from, hockey sometimes I don't think is a bad idea. And, because you need to miss it. And that definitely, caused me to miss it during college. And then after college, I coached for a couple of years, but I wasn't playing myself at all. And then actually the last 2 years since 3 years, I guess, actually, since I started grad school, I wasn't playing ice hockey at all. I was playing ball hockey occasionally during tournaments, but not regularly. Um, and I think they're the same thing of it's just, it's time for me to miss the sport, and got me to a point now that I'm wanting to play more than ever. But I just tried to entertain myself with other things. So, in the last year, I started to do martial arts a little bit, which has been a fun new challenge, and something that's, it's a smaller group in the facility. So got comfortable with kind of being able to go, and it's been just a different challenge. So getting, back to working on my mental game. So being frustrated because I don't know how to do it, and people around me are really good. So it was kind of it's been an interesting a journey so far. So it's called this, part of it is called the Screama fighting. So it's literally sticks that you're fighting with. And it's been fun. It's brought me away from, just doing something that I kind of know, and, I have some skill set in, and into something new. So it's helped me to kind of work on that. And it actually has forced me to become more flexible. We do a lot of stretching. So I'm actually stretching twice a week, which I know I should be stretching more than that, but I've never in my 28 years of being alive been able to actually keep a solid stretching schedule going. So I've already seen progress. So, it's been a good thing, because I wouldn't have done that if I was, still playing hockey all the time. And I probably wouldn't have wanted to, take the time during the week to go. And also doing kickboxing, which is a lot of fun too.
Oh, that's awesome. I have two follow-up questions. One, have you used hockey sticks as part of that, or is it like what size stick do you use?
No. So I don't have them in here, but they're I don't know, probably like maybe 18 inches long or so. They're basically bamboo sticks, so that they cut and obviously like sand down and everything. But no ice hockey sticks. They would, I feel like that would be pretty cool though, but probably wouldn't be able to do anything with it.
That's awesome. And then second, I think I can just relate. I think the piece of like missing something really bad is definitely, like, I haven't played since last March, and I miss hockey a lot as well. And just that, like, I'm gonna be so excited when I step back on that rink and get to have a stick in my hands. I'm gonna be so tired and exhausted, because there's no training that you can do that really gets you into hockey shape. But I'm definitely really excited for it. And then similar to you, I picked up rock climbing, which I've done for a few years, but now I've gotten like quite into it over the last year. And I've had a similar journey of like, there's moments where I know that I'm going out to have fun. Like, the point for me of climbing is to go and have fun. But there's also days where I'm like climbing something that's a little bit too hard, or I think I should be able to do, but I can't. And I'm getting like so frustrated, and I'm like, why am I getting mad? I'm outside. It's beautiful. I'm so privileged to be able to do this today. Like, there's a pandemic going on, yet I have this opportunity. And so like that mental game of being brand new to something, and being really bad at it, I think is an important position to put yourself in too. It's really interesting. So I was curious, what advice would you give 20-year-old Haley?
Well, I got a lot. No, I think, 20-year-old Haley. If I had to pick one thing, I would say working on my mental game a little sooner. So, I even experience it sometimes now with work. I'm very, very hard on myself. So, if I'll make a small mistake, and, so maybe I'll make a bad pass, or, I'll miss the net, and it throws me off for like, the next couple shifts. And I've learned to do a lot better of controlling that. And, in the last, probably mainly in the last couple of years, and I think, I don't know if it's more self-awareness, that I think actually part of it probably came from some people in ball hockey, making comments at times but in a nice way. So I think that was probably the difference, of like, you can't worry about it, you got to move on. Like, just, I think the way it came across, or maybe the way I received some feedback, now being kind of a little bit older, helped me to kind of move on from some of that. And if I could have done that when I was 20 years old, probably could have got a lot of shifts back, and had much more successful shifts from that standpoint. So I would just say, if anybody else falls into that category, like, learn how to control it, right? So, I think that's kind of why I went to, your question earlier around, kind of being a teammate and how I'm interacting with people is, I almost, use my teammates as a way to keep myself going and to keep my own mental game kind of in check. And so, however, I could have done that in the past, whether it was, actually working with a sports psychologist that was actually provided to the team, or if it was, just finding somebody that, I had a good relationship with and that I could trust, that I knew I wasn't going to take things the wrong way at the time. I think would have helped me. So I think today, like, Eileen Mesler is probably the main person who, she couldn't hurt a fly, nicest person in the world. And I think, one time she made a comment to me, like, if, you just should, if you could just get your, just stay concentrated. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, just let it go. And I don't know why I've been told that so many times, but I think the way that, I had talked to her about some of it, just kind of really helped me. And if I could have had an Eileen back when I was 20, I guess the advice would be to find an Eileen then.
Nice, find an Eileen. I love
Yeah.
that. Yeah, I wonder too, like, is there anything you can expand on in terms of maybe things that worked for you to, it sounds like you kind of got like a little more self-aware, but like, is there anything in there that you've done like deliberately to like keep that in check, or things you tell yourself now that, might have helped with that mental game? So I think, like, generally speaking, the mental game, especially for women, is really, really difficult. There's like all these elements of like perfectionism. There's all these elements of like, you have to be like, always doing everything right. You have to be a good teammate. You have to be at the top of your, like, all these like pressures that can like come on top of you. But then also, as we talked about before, we're here to have a good time. Like, we're in the perspective of like, we're playing this sport because we love it and we want to be here with our teammates and playing. So like, there's so many like aspects to it. So just curious, like, if you could expand on that a little bit.
Yeah, I think, I don't know if I have any like real one way. I think for me, it was almost just thinking about it even before I went into a game. Just kind of reminding myself almost beforehand of, if something goes wrong, what am I going to do at that point? And that, a big thing for me was, I started to realize that although it was really only about me being angry, right, or me being, frustrated with the way I was playing, that has a huge impact on the team, which is something, seems so obvious, right? And, I would see other players do it and I'd be like, oh, what a mean person. You're kind of, you're ruining it for the whole team. And thinking back, I'm like, wow, there's been instances in my career where, I've definitely thrown things off for, a couple shifts or a period, just because I've been so frustrated with my own play. And so I don't know that it's, I guess a great answer for your question, but for me, it was really that, I guess, ownership and making sure that I was being a good team player myself. And I think I care, I want my teammates to want, to want me to kind of be there and support them as well. So I would kind of take it, okay, I had one bad shift, but you know what? This person's having a really good game. So let's actually focus on that. So let's, you did this well in this shift. So I tried to to change it. And I think I did become a little bit more, likely to start giving, kind of feedback and thoughts to teammates when I would get off, when I would have something like that, either like, oh, I did this wrong, but hey, you were doing a really great job here. Is there anything I could have changed so that this didn't happen? So just more talking through it rather than kind of internalizing it. And relying on my teammates to, I guess, help keep my confidence to a standpoint. And then just focusing on what we were doing well. So a lot of it was, just how I prepared for going on to, the court or the ice or whatever it was. I think that that's probably what helped me the most. But I'm always open to other ideas of how to keep things, kind of going. And it's kind of funny that I'm still talking about this at this age, but I feel like it's something that any player can continue to work on. So I think it's important to kind of talk about. So.
Yeah, thanks. I think that's where my mind was going too, because I was going to say, like, I think this is like a lifelong journey in the mental game for any athlete, right? Of like, how do you, and like you get better at it, but like you never get fully out of it. Like you always kind of fall back into your patterns, and then like maybe you notice your pattern quicker, and maybe you can get yourself out of it quicker, but it does always come back. So I appreciate you sharing that and sharing like some of the ways that you've gotten through moments, some of the moments that you're like, oh, like I was doing that, and I'm not super proud of that moment. I've had plenty of those myself, and then ways, and then acknowledging that it's like constant too. So thanks for all that.
Yeah.
Tell us about your week or your couple of days of stick handling. You're going to close us out for the month of March. So what do folks have to look forward to?
Yeah, so I got a little bit of kind of agility type work going on. So a little bit of balance, kind of one leg type stuff. Really working on a little bit of, I think, foot quickness and getting, keeping stick handling while you're moving your feet, which I think has been worked on a little bit in past weeks, but a little bit different spin on it. And then another one is how to fall, and not how to fall, but how to control the ball while you're falling. As well as trying to handle the ball when you're on the ground and getting back up. So I think, I fall all the time. I think I fall more in ball hockey than I think I did in ice. I don't know why exactly. I think maybe a lot of people do, I'm not sure. But I think it's an important skill, right? So kind of keeping that focus on the ball and being able to get up and get right back into the play. And then some of it is going to be a little bit of reaction work. So we'll involve, a partner to help you out a little bit, but if you can, just, quick reactions and getting ready to, get into the position of whatever your next, play might be. And I think, a lot of it is getting used to playing with our head up. So, I've watched a lot of stick handling videos over the years. I've, watched a lot of people do stick handling, and we tend to keep our head down, and which is, I think, great during, as you're practicing. But I think when you're practicing, it's the time that it's okay to mess up. So just really working on keeping your head up and being able to kind of, get ready for the next play.
Yeah, thanks. That's so important, right? Because like if you're stick handling with your head up, you have so many more options, right? You can keep stick handling, you can make a pass, you can take a shot, you can see what's going on, you can see if someone's coming at you or someone's cutting to the net to make a good pass. And like you said too, like this is the time to mess up. This is the time to like, just if you like can't even really do it, but you're trying, super hard with your head up, like you're gonna learn some stuff through that. And that's the point, right? Is like we're learning, we're gaining some skills, we're learning how to feel through the stick where the ball is on our blade, like all those things are super important. So that's cool. Looking forward to it. One last question for you, Haley. What is something you're especially grateful for?
I mean, just given the last year, just the fact that myself and my family have been healthy, have been able to kind of either keep their jobs or keep, or find a new passion even during this time. And, I think it's something that you just can't take for granted. It's scary, some of the stuff that we're seeing going on, and friends or people that I know that have gone through some, difficult situations through this. And so I'm just very, very grateful to have what I have. And, it really makes you, I guess, really appreciate everything a lot more. Not that there weren't issues before the last year, but I think it's, kind of magnified some of them. Um, and, of course, having my fur babies and and my family around, and just being able to spend time with loved ones.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Haley. I appreciate the time and the thoughts, and I'm looking forward to all your videos coming up.
Sounds good. Thank you. Appreciate you having me.